What's up, everyone? Tony the Cold Case Project back again, and had this requested a few times because YouTube had to take them down. However, today we are jumping into, that's right, you read the title, so I guess you know where I'm going with this, Unsolved Mysteries from my home state of Illinois. Now, have quite a few that I'm going to feature on here, some that I've done already, some that I've never done before, but I want to keep this definitely as entertaining as possible. Got, like I said, a few new ones I'm pretty excited to feature here because I'm pretty familiar with them, having driven by a few of these areas and being very, very familiar with these, so all that said, thank you for tuning in, and let's get started. Today we're going to be discussing the case of a young man by the name of Jesse Ross. Now, let's get started. Jesse was born on February the 18th of 1987 in Kansas City, Kansas, to Don and Donna Ross. He had an older brother named Jesse, who was a sophomore at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, where he was majoring in communications with a minor in politics. He was not only focused on academics, but also heavily involved in campus activities, including Spirit Committee and other various clubs. One of his passions was participating in the university's Model United Nations, and he was eagerly looking forward to the upcoming 2006 conference at the University of Chicago. Now, prior to his disappearance, Jesse began an internship at 95.7 The Vibe, a local Kansas City radio station. He worked on the morning show Shorty and the Boys, where he quickly became a beloved member of the team. His dedication and enthusiasm led to a promotion from unpaid intern to paid morning on-air personality, a dream come true for the ambitious young man. The Model United Nations Conference in Chicago was scheduled to begin on November the 18th, 2006. Jesse, along with 13 other students, prepared for the trip. Due to budget constraints, the group decided to make the 10-hour drive from Kansas City to Chicago in a rented van. They arrived at Sheridan Towers Hotel in Chicago late Saturday afternoon, where the conference was set to take place. Despite being split into different hotels due to the large number of attendees, Jesse's group was housed at 4 Points Sheraton, a short walk from the main venue. He shared a room with Ralph Parker, a friend from high school. Jesse called his mother on November the 20th to let her know that he was having a great time at the conference. He promised to call her again the next day before heading home. However, that call never came. The last confirmed sighting of Jesse was captured by a surveillance camera in the hotel lobby around 2:30 a.m. on November the 21st. He was seen walking towards the doors, seemingly leaving the hotel. After that, he vanished without a trace. When Jesse failed to return to his room, concern grew among his peers and professors. His roommate Ralph Parker confirmed that Jesse had been drinking, but didn't appear intoxicated when he left the room around 2 a.m. for a break. Parker returned to their room around 6 a.m. and assumed Jesse was sleeping. However, he was nowhere to be found. Authorities launched an extensive investigation, reviewing the security camera footage and interviewing witnesses. Despite their efforts, no substantial leads emerged. One theory suggested that Jesse may have fallen into the nearby Chicago River, but searches yielded no such evidence. Jesse's disappearance has left his family and friends devastated. With no signs of foul play and no activity on his credit cards or cell phone since his disappearance, the case remains unsolved. As time passes, his loved ones continue to post videos on YouTube as well as Facebook to bring awareness to the case of Jesse Ross. What's also worth noting is over really the past 2 decades since Jesse's gone missing, a number of young men, usually intoxicated, have vanished. in the Chicagoland area. Now, this little trend has really picked up steam the last couple of years. We had a case happen. I can't remember the young man's name, but he was actually in the Navy, and he went out for some drinks on St. Patrick's Day of last year. It was the last time he was ever seen. Went, got drinks. CCTV footage caught him, walking from the bar, and he was found days later, floating in the river. And once again, as I've said, this has been continuing, so this may actually be a future video I'm thinking in the making. But once again, all that said, the case of Jesse Ross remains unsolved. Everett Thompson Sr. was the owner of Eat Restaurant in Park Manor neighborhood of the city of Chicago. He lived in Chicago with his wife Lydia and their children Andrew and Everett Jr. on Rhodes Avenue. Lydia's brother Kenneth White moved in with the Thompsons in February of 1996 after being released from prison where he just got done serving time for rape. The Thompson family was unhappy about White's presence at the home, referring to him as a freeloading house guest. Tensions escalated when Lydia called 911 on July the 3rd to report that her brother had threatened her with an axe. Although the police did respond, in a lot of these type of cases, family member, they talk and decided not to pursue any charges. Now, 2 days later, on July the 5th, Everett received a phone call from Lydia again, claiming that White was chasing her with an axe. Concerned, Everett left work, immediately after getting this phone call. Now, this was the last time that anyone had seen him alive. Rather than calling police, rather than trying to get someone over there before he could get there, he went there on his own accord. So, later on that day, Lydia's brother, he had actually come to the Eat Restaurant driving Everett's van. He told the manager on duty that Everett had been arrested after a car accident and had left. White's behavior raised suspicion, especially when employees noticed red smears on the white of his sneakers. Now, almost 2 weeks passed without any contact from the Thompson family, prompting Everett's parents to request a wellness check at their home. When they arrived, only White was present, claiming the family had gone on an impromptu vacation to Philadelphia. Despite no evidence of foul play, the Thompsons' van was missing. Over the following weeks, White gave conflicting stories about the Thompsons' whereabouts, but none led to them being found. Suspicion grew when they discovered that White had forged Lydia's signature to sell the Thompsons' home. Subsequent investigation revealed recent renovations, including painted bathroom fixtures and torn-out kitchen flooring. Although White was interviewed multiple times, authorities had no evidence to arrest him. He would then move to the just as dangerous city of Gary, Indiana, where the FBI found blood-stained items near his trailer. White was arrested for various offenses over the years, including bank fraud. Surprise, surprise. But though in court, prosecutors theorized White murdered the Thompson family to gain control of their home. However, White never revealed any information from this point forward, and this scumbag killed himself on Christmas Day of 1997. Despite strong suspicions, investigators were never able to find any evidence linking White to the Thompsons' disappearance and presumed murder. Searches of White's trailer, as well as the Thompsons' residence and area around the home, have yielded no human remains. This case, unfortunately, remains unsolved. Heather Zimmerman, a resident of Gifford, Illinois, vanished without a trace on May 26, 1997. That evening, she left her home after grabbing a soda from her fridge, getting ready to head to a party in the rural city of Rantoul, Illinois, about a half hour from the city of Danville and a little less than an hour from the Illinois-Indiana border, a little over, actually 2.5 hours from Chicago. Reports suggest she may have been dropped off near her family's residence at 3 a.m. the following day. But really, this has never been confirmed. Zimmerman has never been seen or heard from since, leaving behind all of her personal belongings, including her purse, which had been stolen prior to her disappearance. Zimmerman seemed to have vanished into thin air. Her marital problems added to the complexity of the case. She'd been living with her parents while her husband served in Japan at the time. He was a Marine. Now, even with the troubled relationship, her sudden disappearance was highly uncharacteristic. Some tied the Zimmerman case to the disappearance of another young woman by the name of Jamie Harper, who would disappear sometime later. Now, both cases happened in the same area. Many similarities in this case, not to mention the same person of interest is linked to both cases as well, too. Now, although this is the case that they have this one person of interest, once again, he's never been identified, and there's really been no evidence to link him to the disappearances. Now, some 25 plus years later, her case remains unsolved. Janette Johnson, 29-year-old mother of two from Kankakee, Illinois, vanished on the evening of August 2, 1985, after a night out with friends at the Party House Bar. Known for her vibrant personality, she was adored by those who knew her. Upon coming home, Janette parked her car behind her house. Her daughter, Jeretha, caught a glimpse of her walking up to the door before pretending to be asleep. However, the next morning revealed that Janette was not inside. Instead, her car was found parked on the street in front of the house. Inside, a window was partially rolled down. A cigarette lay in the ashtray, and Janette's coat and purse rested on one of the seats. Concerned, Jeretha contacted her mom's work and grandmother, sparking a search for Janette. In late 1985, unidentified remains were discovered in eastern Kankakee County, but it wasn't until November of 2020 that DNA from Janette's family members confirmed the remains belonged to her. Her case transitioned into a homicide investigation, leading to Janette's burial in May of 2022. Despite finding closure and laying her mother to rest, Jeretha continues to seek justice for Janette's murder. If you have any information regarding the disappearance and murder of Janette Johnson in 1985, please contact the Kankakee Police Department at 815-933-3321. Resurrection Mary, a haunting tale deep into Chicago's folklore, casts an eerie spell along Archer Avenue, going from the Willowbrook Ballroom to Resurrection Cemetery in Justice, Illinois. Since the 1930s, this legend has captivated local imagination, with countless drivers sharing spine-chilling encounters with a mysterious hitchhiker along this haunted road. The story of Resurrection Mary begins with a tragic twist of fate. As legend goes, young, beautiful Mary was a regular at the O. Henry Ballroom, where she would dance the night away. However, one fateful evening, A heated argument between her and her boyfriend drove Mary to storm out of the ballroom. Sad and full of rage, she took to the street. Along Archer Avenue, tragedy struck as a reckless driver struck her in a tragic hit-and-run, leaving Mary fatally wounded along the roadside. Denied justice in life, Mary's spirit found its eternal resting place at the Resurrection Cemetery, forever bound to the place of her untimely demise. Over the years, motorists traveling Archer Avenue have reported eerie sightings of a young woman resembling Mary. Clad in a flowing white gown, her features bathed in moonlight, Resurrection Mary appears to unsuspecting travelers beckoning from the roadside. Some witnesses claim to have offered her a ride, only to watch in astonishment as she vanished into the darkness upon the nearing cemetery gates. One chilling encounter dates back to 1939, when Chicago Southsider Jerry Paulus found himself spellbound by the mysterious Mary at Liberty Grove and Hall. Their meeting, filled with laughter and dance, ended with Jerry offering Mary a ride home. Yet, as they approached Resurrection Cemetery, Mary's presence inexplicably vanished, leaving Jerry alone with the haunting realization that he'd just encountered a ghost. Resurrection Mary's apparitions have continued to intrigue and unsettle residents and visitors alike. From patrons of Harlow's nightclub in 1973 to a bewildered cab driver recounting a ghostly encounter near Resurrection Cemetery, sightings of Mary continue, shrouded in mystery. Despite the passage of time, the true identity of Resurrection Mary remains subject to speculation and debate. Some researchers have attempted to link her origins to individuals buried within Resurrection Cemetery, citing names like Mary Bregovi and Anna Maria Norquist. Yet conclusive evidence remains elusive, adding to the mystery surrounding Resurrection Mary's true identity. Whether she's a vengeful spirit seeking justice for her tragic end, or a sad soul trapped between the realms, Resurrection Mary continues to cast her presence over Archer Avenue, forever haunting the imaginations of those who tread along this dark road. Amelia Zelo was last seen in Joliet, Illinois on September 25, 1957. She held multiple roles at the Joliet Spectator, including reporter, treasurer, secretary, business manager, as well as co-owner. Leaving the newspaper office around 11:30 that night, Zelo appeared in good spirits, carrying her envelope-type purse. However, when she failed to arrive for work the following morning, her managing editor decided to contact the local authorities. A local bartender revealed seeing Zelo after she left work, stopping in for a drink, and making 2 long-distance phone calls at a phone booth. Surprisingly, this information didn't surface until 1978. Zelo's residence on Buell Avenue was a short drive from her work, and her car was discovered parked outside with the keys under the front seat. Neighbors reported hearing screams in a speeding car between midnight and 12:15 a.m. The only traces found were shoes, one in her car's trunk and the other nearby. Zelo had mentioned to friends that she'd remove her shoes and flee if attacked. However, her hat, purse, and its contents were missing. There was no sign she'd spent any time in her home that evening as well. Zelo often covered topics like mobsters, political corruption, and gambling in her articles. It's speculated that her disappearance may be linked to her writings. The paper's publisher, a victim of a severe beating years prior from other individuals, and Zelo believed it was retribution for her anti-gambling stance. Despite investigation, the Spectator's financial records for a possible motive, Nothing suspicious was found, and the publication ceased operations in 1965. An unidentified witness claimed to have seen four men with a black car bearing a woman's body near an open storm sewer ditch close to Zelko's home on the day she vanished. Given her close ties to her family in the area, voluntary disappearance seemed improbable. Zelko was declared legally dead in 1964, 7 years after her disappearance. However, her case still remains unsolved. At approximately 11:30 a.m. on October the 28th, 1991, a 911 operator in Wheeling, Illinois received a call from an unidentified man using a payphone. The man reported that a woman at 1765 Stonehenge Court was unresponsive and not breathing. When questioned about his presence at the location, the caller ended the phone call. Paramedics arrived to find 27-year-old Jamie Santos dead, having been smothered with a pillow. Jamie, a stripper, resided near her parents' home in Wheeling, Illinois. Concerned for Jamie's safety upon learning her new job, her parents were reassured when they discovered she always had a driver present during private party performances in the Chicagoland area. Jamie had a rule leaving any situation that made her feel uncomfortable. The night before her murder, Jamie got sick, canceled appointments, and spent the evening watching movies and talking to her friends on the phone. After that night, she was never seen alive ever again. After Jamie's body was found, there were no signs of forced entry, but evidence of a struggle was present. Strangely, she was not sexually assaulted, and her head was found resting on a pillow. Investigators had minimal leads, with only the anonymous caller and a few fingerprints to go on. Despite their best efforts, the caller's identity remains unknown, leaving the case unresolved. The call originated from a payphone near Jamie's home, leading investigators to believe the caller was familiar with her. Despite leads from individuals claiming to recognize the caller's voice, none have ever proved to really provide anything substantial. Surveillance footage from a nearby liquor store showed a man making a purchase around the time of the 911 call, but he was cleared of any involvement after identification. Police suspect Jamie's killer may have been a customer from one of her dancing jobs who refused to take no for an answer, or possibly one of her drivers with a hidden obsession. It's theorized that the perpetrator visited Jamie's home with intentions of sex, leading to a fatal altercation after she said no. The remorseful killer then said to call authorities, feeling bad over what he had done. Following an Unsolved Mysteries broadcast seeking information, the police received numerous phone calls, but the outcome of these leads remains unknown. In 2011, investigators resubmitted evidence from the crime scene in hopes of obtaining DNA evidence to aid in the investigation, yet Jamie Santos' case remains unsolved. Karen Shepard's disappearance remains one of the enduring mysteries in the Chicagoland area, leaving her loved ones for over 40 years. It all began on a seemingly ordinary Friday evening on April the 16th of 1983, when 23-year-old computer programmer left with plans to go out with a group of co-workers from First Chicago Bank Card in Elgin, Illinois that evening. She had looked forward to it all week. Several of her colleagues had recently completed a training program and received promotions. To celebrate, they were going to go have a party at a nearby bar. As soon as the workday was over, Karen rushed to the door of her yellow Toyota Celica, made a quick stop at her bank to deposit her $1,200 tax refund check, then headed to her Elgin apartment so she could change clothes. Then she made the 10-minute drive to P.M. Bentley's Tavern, Carpentersville, Illinois. She arrived around 5:30 p.m. and spent several hours socializing with her colleagues. Earlier in the week, Karen had invited her boyfriend, Terry Schultz, to meet her at the party. When he hadn't shown up by 9 o'clock, Karen used the bar's payphone to call him and ask if he was still coming. He told her he had a large catering job to complete the following morning, and he at the restaurant that him and his parents ran. He thought it would be best if he skipped the bar and went to bed early. Although Karen hadn't been very happy with his answer, she didn't seem overly angry. As the night wore on, the group began to decrease, and by 1 a.m. all of Karen's co-workers had left the bar. Each of them would later recall Karen was still at the bar when they left. No one remembered seeing Karen leave. It's believed she left the bar sometime after 1 a.m. What happened after that is unclear, as neither she nor her car were ever seen ever again. Terry tried to call Karen the following afternoon, but got no answer. He left her a message, but wasn't too concerned when she didn't return his phone call. He knew that Karen was going to be the maid of honor at a friend's upcoming wedding, and many of her weekends were spent helping with wedding preparation. By Sunday, however, he was starting to think Karen was purposely avoiding him. He worried she might have been angrier about him missing the party than she initially let on. Several of Karen's friends also tried to reach out that weekend, but were unsuccessful. Although it was unlike Karen to go without returning phone calls, everyone assumed that she was just had a busy weekend ahead of her. However, no one thought anything was really wrong. Monday morning rolled around. Terry called Karen's work and asked to speak with her. She hadn't returned any of his phone calls that weekend, but he figured that she would have to talk to him if he called her office. He was surprised to learn that she never showed up to work that day, and instantly knew that something was terribly wrong. He called the Elgin Police Department and reported her missing. By the time detectives were informed about Karen's disappearance, she'd already been missing more than 48 hours. The last place they could place Karen was at P.M. Bentley's in the early morning hours that late Friday, early Saturday. They were unable to determine if she'd made it back to her apartment after leaving the bar, but none of her belongings appeared to be missing or out of place. Investigators spoke to all of Karen's co-workers who'd been with her that night. All of them stated that Karen seemed to be in a good mood, dancing and laughing throughout the night. She'd even participated in a hula hoop contest that was held shortly after midnight. She laughed along with the crowd when her legs locked up and her hula hoop fell to the ground. If she'd been annoyed about Terry declining to come to the party, she didn't tell anyone. Karen had grown up in Iowa and had moved to the Elgin area 5 years earlier and started working at First Chicago Bank Card. She loved her job and was known as a reliable, responsible employee. She was the kind of person you could depend on at all times, and it was completely out of character for her to miss work and not call anyone. Karen rarely saw her family. None of them lived in the area, and her only real contact with them was by telephone. She spent most of her free time with Terry, who she'd been dating now for 4 years. They talked about getting married on several occasions and even told some people that they were engaged, but had ultimately decided to hold off on making any wedding plans. Although they did have a strong relationship, neither one of them was in any hurry to get married. When she wasn't at work or with Terry, Karen preferred to spend her time at home. She loved to sew. She would often make her own clothes. She also enjoyed knitting and playing the piano. She was also a great cook and would sometimes help Terry when he had large catering jobs to complete. She was generally a happy person and never gave any indication she was unhappy with her life. Detectives initially believed Karen may have voluntarily disappeared. The fact that they couldn't find her car seemed to back up this theory. They thought it was entirely possible that she just decided to drive off, take a break from her life. Her friends and coworkers disagreed, however. They insisted that Karen simply wasn't the type of person to just walk away from responsibility. All of them believed that foul play was involved in her disappearance. Karen wasn't in any kind of debt either. She'd recently paid her car off and had around $8,000 in her checking account when she disappeared. Remember, we're talking $8,000 in 1983. She certainly had the financial means to disappear if she wanted, but it soon became clear that this was highly unlikely. Her bank account remained untouched and none of her credit cards have ever been used. If she ran away, she wasn't using her money to support herself. Detectives were unable to find any indications that foul play had taken place, but reporters that they were keeping an eye on kind of try to keep an open mind on what may have happened. The more they learned about Karen, the more apparent it became that she wasn't the type of person who you'd expect just voluntarily run away from life. They appealed to the public for help trying to locate the missing woman, or her car for that matter, and asked anyone who might have seen her after she left PM Bentley's to contact them. Karen's father, Lauren, hadn't seen his daughter in more than 3 years. Lauren was an airline pilot, and when he learned his daughter was missing, he immediately flew to Illinois to help in the search. As soon as he arrived on Tuesday morning, he rented a small plane. He and Terry spent the next 2 days flying over the Elgin area, hoping to spot Karen's bright yellow car, thinking that perhaps she may have gotten into an accident or driven her car off the side of the road. They paid close attention to the route that she would have took home from the bar. They found nothing, however. They expanded their search onto the second day, concentrating on creeks and riverbeds. By the time they finished, they'd cover all areas in a 50-mile radius of Elgin. They found no clues to Karen's whereabouts. Police helicopters had also flown over the area. They too found nothing to indicate Karen had run off the road or ended up in any bodies of water within the Fox River or Fox Lake area. Detectives interviewed Terry intensively. Since he was Karen's boyfriend, he was the natural person of interest. However, he cooperated fully in the investigation and volunteered to take a polygraph test as well, which he passed. He was eventually eliminated as a suspect and continued to take an active role in the search for Karen. In a way, he blamed himself for her disappearance. If he'd only met her at the bar that night, she may have never vanished. The investigation into Karen's disappearance went cold almost immediately. Detectives had no proof of foul play, no crime scene to investigate, and no clues as to where Karen may be. Few tips came in the case. Investigators exhausted all leads within months. By the time the new year had rolled around, the case was already ice cold. Karen's friends and family continued to search for her on their own, and her co-workers pooled their money and offered a large reward for any information leading to Karen's recovery or the person responsible for her disappearance. Her family hung missing persons posters all over the city of Elgin and conducted several physical searches for Karen. Despite their best efforts, however, once again, neither Karen nor her car were found. Over the years, Karen's case has been reopened several times, but no leads ever developed. In 2008, cold case detectives arranged to have 7 billboards with information about her disappearance placed alongside several highways in the Elgin to Rockford area, in an attempt to revive interest in the case. Investigators re-interviewed people who'd known Karen and went back over the original case file, searching in vain for any small nugget of information that may have been overlooked during the initial investigation. They conducted a small physical search and also used sonar to scan several bodies of water in the area from Carpentersville, Illinois to Elgin. Unfortunately, they found nothing relevant in the investigation. Once again, Karen's been missing for 41 years now, and detectives admit that the chances of solving the case are slim. However, they think it's possible there are some people in the Elgin area who know what happened to Karen that night in 1983. Karen was 23 years old when she went missing. She had brown hair, brown eyes, and at the time of her disappearance was 5 foot 7 inches and weighed 125 pounds. Although it's unknown what she was wearing when she was last seen, she wore a tan corduroy coat with a hood and a gold watch. She was driving a yellow 1980 Toyota Celica hatchback with red pinstripes, an Illinois license plate number XP8919, and VIN number RA42326350. If you have any information about Karen, please contact the Elgin Police Department at 847-289-2700. Erica Thompson vanished from Brookfield, Illinois on September 25, 2019. The last known sighting of Erica was captured on security cameras at a bank in the Eight Corners area close to Brookfield and at Monroe Avenue. However, she failed to show up for work the following day, sparking worry from her friends and colleagues. Shockingly, Erica's absence went unreported until October the 1st, almost a week later, adding to the mystery surrounding her disappearance. When authorities conducted a welfare check at Erica's home, they made troubling discoveries. The back door was open, the air conditioning was still running, moldy dishes cluttered the sink, and cat vomit was pretty much seen in multiple spots in her living room, which is a far cry from Erica's very tidy habits. Notably, recent footage from the home security camera had been mysteriously erased, complicating the investigation. While Erica's beloved cats remained home, several personal belongings were missing, including her cell phone, purse, Illinois driver's license, as well as her house and car keys. Notably, her car, a 2014 Nissan, with the license plate number E273380, was also missing. Investigators discovered evidence suggesting Erica's vehicle had been driven by someone other than herself in Decatur and Mount Vernon on September the 26th, the day after she was last seen. The trail continued as Erica's cell phone pinged in various locations, including Brookfield and several other cities in the early morning hours of September the 26th. The phone was discovered abandoned in a ditch in Springfield, Missouri, 7 hours from Brookfield on October the 2nd. At the time of her disappearance, Erica worked as a comptroller at Empire Hard Chrome in Chicago. Described as someone with anxiety about long-distance driving who preferred to stay close to home, Erica enjoyed crocheting, gardening, genealogical research, and computers. Her case remains unsolved. Jerry Wolking Sr. was last seen leaving a friend's home at 11 p.m. on October the 18th of 1990. His silver and blue 1988 Chevy Suburban was later found abandoned in the long-term parking lot at the Quad City International Airport. The vehicle showed signs of front-end damage, with newspapers and other items scattered inside. Strangely, the trailer hitch and wagon wheels were caked with mud, which contradicted Wolking's typically clean car habits. What alarmed investigators were drops of blood found on all sides of the vehicle, both inside and out. It suggested that someone may have been run over by the truck. Geological testing traced the mud to Poplar Grove, Illinois area. Prior to his disappearance, Wolking exhibited unusual behavior. Just days prior to his disappearance at a family gathering, he appeared agitated and refused to stay for gift exchange. His departure from his normal demeanor raised concerns among his loved ones. Wolking confided in others about his fear of his girlfriend's estranged husband, expressing belief that the man posed a threat to his life. Although considered a suspect, the husband was never charged and has since passed away. Investigators suspect that Wolking's assailant didn't act alone. Police have pieced together a likely scenario. Wolking returned home and encountered one or more attackers near his residence, resulting in a struggle where he was struck by his own vehicle. The investigation points to the possibility that Wolking's remains are located near the Poplar Grove area in Moline, near Green Valley Sports Complex. Despite extensive searches, Wolking's body has never been found and his case remains unsolved. Gary Shanley vanished under mysterious circumstances on November the 23rd of 2006 after being seen at the Double Deuce Bar in East St. Louis, Illinois, around 1:30 a.m. He was never seen or heard from again, leaving his loved ones with unanswered questions and deep concern. Following his disappearance, a perplexing scene unfolded at Gary's apartment. His jeans were discovered on the floor, still with the belt threaded through the loops. His money, cell phone, and ID card were neatly arranged on the table, while his wallet and keys were missing. Despite these peculiarities, his older model maroon Sonoma truck remained parked in the lot, adding to the baffling circumstances. Gary's financial situation at the time offered little insight into his disappearance. With no credit cards and only a meager amount of money in his bank account, he earned his living through odd jobs. His routine was predictable and he rarely ventured far from home. His failure to show up for a scheduled job on November the 26th that would have netted him $200 raised immediate red flags. Equally concerning was his absence from his family's Thanksgiving gathering on November the 25th and crucial custody hearing on December the 4th. His mother emphasized that missing the hearing was entirely out of character for Gary. Despite extensive efforts by authorities, including investigations by the Cahokia Police Department, Gary Shanley's case remains unsolved. Katherine Rohn's life took a mysterious turn on May the 22nd of 1979 after a heated argument with her husband Robert Rohn at their home on the 900 block of Sanborn Drive in Spinnaker's Cove subdivision of Palatine, Illinois. The altercation escalated with Rob alleging Katherine scratched him, kicked him, and even broke his jaw before fleeing the house with only her purse, credit cards, and a small amount of cash. Robert, convinced she left to cool off, expected her to return in within hours. However, Katherine never came back, and her whereabouts remain unknown to this day. Despite Robert's claims of Katherine's mental instability and fear of hospitalization, those close to her described her as being in good spirits and eagerly anticipating her mother's upcoming marriage. Katherine was employed part-time as an interior designer at the Kathleen Metzler Interiors in Barrington, Illinois, and also gave tennis lessons and enjoyed her work, seemingly connecting with her life. However, 8 months prior to her disappearance, Katherine endured a harrowing experience when intruders armed with pistols broke into her home, handcuffed her to a basement beam, and ransacked the house, stealing jewelry over $5,000. Miraculously, Katherine escaped unharmed, and the perpetrators were never apprehended. While it remains unclear if this incident is linked to her disappearance, it adds a layer of complexity to her case. Following Katherine's disappearance, Robert divorced her and relocated to Florida. His troubled financial history, including bankruptcy, a conviction for a conspiracy to sell stolen goods, raised suspicions, although he's never been formally charged in connection with Katherine's disappearance. Despite exhaustive investigations and multiple leads, including reports of previous instances where Katherine had temporarily left home, her family and friends haven't heard from her since 1979. Authorities believe she is likely deceased, while Robert is considered a person of interest. However, no charges have ever been filed against him. The disappearance of another Spinnaker's Cove resident, Stephanie Ling, 2 years prior, resulted in her husband's conviction for murder. Now, although her body was never found, while Katherine's case shares a geographical connection, there's no evidence linking the two incidents. Katherine's case remains unsolved. In the early 1980s, Mary Scalo and Vicki Vukich shared a bond closer than sisters. Both single mothers raising baby daughters in Calumet City, they found solace and support in each other's friendship. Despite Vicki's busy schedule establishing her hair and beauty salon, their connection remained strong as they navigated challenges of motherhood together. Vicki's marriage to David Vukich in 1986 was supposed to mark a new chapter of stability and happiness for her. However, their relationship quickly soured, marked by frequent domestic disturbances and tension. Despite Vicki's attempts to file for divorce in 1988, financial worries and fear for her daughter's future kept her trapped in the tumultuous marriage. By 1991, Vicki had resolved to break free from the cycle of abuse and uncertainty. Working tirelessly at his second job, she planned to escape from David's control, determined to create a better life for herself and her daughters. But on the night of February 23, 1991, Vicki vanished without a trace. Her daughter Jill recounted hearing arguments between Vicki and David that evening, but she drifted off to sleep, assuming things would settle by the morning. However, when Jill awoke, her mother was gone, leaving behind a bewildered family and a cloud of suspicion hovering over David. Despite David's claims that Vicki left of her own accord, leaving behind all of her personal belongings and her children, Mary refused to accept that explanation. Concerned by Vicki's sudden disappearance and lack of action from the authorities, she tirelessly pursued answers, convinced that foul play was involved. Over the years, new revelations emerged, casting further doubt on David's innocence. Neighbors reported hearing chilling screams that night Vicki went missing, and David's suspicious behavior, including alterations to their home, his avoidance of law enforcement raised red flags. In 2003, a renewed effort to uncover the truth led investigators to excavate the Vukich home, hoping to find evidence that would bring closure to Vicki's case. However, their efforts yielded no answers, leaving Vicki's fate shrouded in uncertainty. Despite the passage of time, Senior Agent Tony Gentry remains dedicated to seeking justice for Vicki and her family. His determination, coupled with the advocacy of Jill, Vicki's daughter, keep hope alive that one day truth behind Vicki's disappearance will be revealed. Marianne Swalsky disappeared from Chicago, Illinois on July 15, 1963. The last confirmed sighting of Marianne occurred at 10:15 p.m. that evening when she attended a carnival with friends at St. Priscilla's Catholic Church. Little did her loved ones know that this would be the last time they would see her. 2 days after her disappearance, Marianne's parents received a letter supposedly from her. In the letter, Marianne assured her family that she was safe and well, but cryptically mentioned experiencing a strange but educational experience. She expressed her reluctance to disclose her whereabouts, citing a desire to avoid interference, and hinted at the possibility of never seeing her family or friends ever again. Despite this, she promised to contact them again soon. The letter was postmarked from Oak Park, Illinois, where Mary Ann had frequented with her friends for shopping. However, Marianne never made contact with her family again. Her parents were unaware of any issues or conflicts in her current life. Described as a diligent student who'd completed her junior year at Notre Dame High School. Marianne had recently made deposits for her senior yearbook and class ring. She had a job at the neighborhood store and supplemented her income by babysitting. She lived with her parents and little sister at West Cornelia Avenue. In the wake of her disappearance, it was discovered that Marianne had joined an organization involved in door-to-door magazine sales en route to California. However, when questioned, the couple running the group provided conflicting statements regarding Marianne's involvement. With that said, while the wife claimed Marianne had left the group earlier, the husband said that she never left Chicago at all. Despite extensive investigations and searches, Marianne's whereabouts since 1963 remain unknown. Her case remains unsolved. Charles Southern, an esteemed figure as the assistant chairman of the English department at the Chicago Junior College, vanished without a trace in December of 1987, leaving behind a myriad of unanswered questions and a trail of unsettling connections to the mysterious spiritual leader Terry Hoffman. Charles' journey into the realm of spiritual enlightenment intertwined with his encounters with Hoffman and her group, The Conscious Development of Body, Mind, and Soul. Seeking deeper meaning and enlightenment, Charles gravitated towards Terry's teachings, drawn by the promise of spiritual growth and understanding. Within Terry's organization, Charles quickly ascended to a position of influence. He immersed himself in teaching classes and leading meditation sessions, embracing the group's philosophy with fervor. However, his path took a dark turn when he visited Terry's home in Dallas, where she purported to be under siege by entities known as Black Lords. These agents of darkness, working on the behest of Satan. In response, Terry and her inner circle erected a psychic shield to ward off these attacks, plunging the group into a state of paranoia and fear. The unsettling atmosphere within the group began to take its toll, manifesting a mental and emotional distress among its members. Charles himself exhibited signs of inner turmoil when he was discovered wandering the streets, clutching a newspaper and muttering cryptic phrases. Concerned for his well-being, his sister intervened, escorting him to the hospital amid fears of potential self-harm. During this investigation, Charles' mother, Ingeborg Southern, maintained a vigilant presence by his side. However, two members of Terry's inner circle approached her, requesting privacy to converse with Charles alone, an encounter shrouded in mystery and suspicion in and of itself. Despite this intervention, Charles eventually returned to his daily activities, albeit with strained relationship with Terry and her teachings. As December of 1987 approached, Charles made plans for a journey to India during the Christmas break, a voyage tinged with anticipation of uncertainty and anticipation. In the days leading up to his departure, he maintained regular communication with his family, alleviating their initial concerns. However, the anticipated departure date arrived, and Charles failed to make any contact. Unease began to gnaw at his loved ones. Their apprehension escalated when discrepancies emerged in Charles' travel plans. Upon entering his home, his parents stumbled upon alarming discoveries. His passport showed no stamps from India. The presence of a potent medication from South America was there, and cryptic notes hinting at inner turmoil and conflict. Moreover, his belongings were arranged in a symbolic manner suggesting an ominous fate. Terry Hoffman's shadow loomed large over Charles' disappearance, casting suspicion on her involvement in the broader implications of her influence. Terry's alleged connection to a string of deaths, including her husband's, son, and followers, raised chilling questions about Charles' fate and extent of her manipulative behavior. The deaths linked to Hoffman, a pattern that came to be known as the Circle of Death, underscored a disturbing narrative of exploitation and tragedy. Despite suspicions surrounding her, Terry remained elusive, evading accountability for the deaths attributed to her. Beneficiaries claimed that Terry was actually named as the beneficiary in multiple significant insurance policies, and assets only deepened the intrigue surrounding her motives and actions. Despite legal entanglements stemming from unrelated charges, Terry has never faced direct consequences for the deaths associated with her family, leaving Charles' fate and the broader implications of her connection shrouded in mystery. Kimberly Thompson disappeared from Champaign, Illinois in December of 1986. She was last seen when her father dropped her off at her home at North Market Street, where she lived with her boyfriend. Now, sometime after she disappeared, and her absence wasn't reported till her father reported her missing 9 days later, prompting her boyfriend to admit that he hadn't seen her in several days. Described as someone who maintained regular and open communication with her family, Kim's sudden vanishing raised many concerns. She loved her family and made a point to contact them almost daily. Despite facing some minor legal charges, Kimberly had dreams to turn her life around, envisioning a fresh start in California, pursuing a career in medicine. Her loved ones firmly believed she wouldn't have just abandoned her life. Adding to the intrigue surrounding her disappearance, Kimberly was anticipating a significant settlement from a lawsuit she'd filed against an employer for a work-related injury. Excited about the financial relief, she never collected the settlement and missed her final appointment with her lawyer, leaving behind an uncashed check intended to pay for some current medical expenses. In the months leading to her disappearance, Kim had bravely testified against 2 individuals in a drug trafficking case, prompting concerns about possible retaliation. Law enforcement provided protection during the trial and offered relocation assistance as well. However, Kimberly declined, expressing she didn't want to leave her family. While the connection between her testimony and disappearance remain unclear, her case remains unsolved and foul play is suspected. In the serene town of Urbana, Illinois, tragedy struck on June 9, 2017, when Yingying Zhang, a bright and promising scholar, fell victim to a heinous crime that shook the community to its core. A visiting Chinese scholar at the esteemed University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, Yingying's dreams and aspirations were brutally cut short by the callous actions of Brent Allen Christensen, a former graduate student with a dark and sinister agenda. Yingying Zhang's journey began in the picturesque city of Nanping, Fujian Province, where she was born to Ronggao Zhang and Li Fengye on December 21, 1990. With ambitions of becoming a professor in China, Yingying excelled academically, graduating at the top of her class from Sun Yat-sen University in 2013 and obtaining a master's degree from Peking University in 2016. Eager to further her research in the United States, Yingying embarked on a year-long journey to explore the realms of photosynthesis and crop productivity at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, where she hoped to pursue a doctoral program. With plans to marry her boyfriend Xiaolin Hu in October 2017, Yingying's future seemed bright and full of promise. Tragically, Yingying's fate took a sinister turn on that fateful day in June. While traveling on a Champaign-Urbana mass transit district bus to finalize arrangements for a new apartment lease, Yingying found herself running late. As she attempted to transfer to another bus, fate intervened in the form of Brent Allen Christensen, who cunningly lured her into his car under the guise of a police officer offering assistance. Little did Yingying know that this seemingly innocuous encounter would lead to her untimely demise. Christensen's nefarious intentions became chillingly clear as he transported Yingying to his apartment, where he subjected her to unspeakable horrors. With his wife conveniently out of town for the weekend, Christensen unleashed his depravity upon Yingying, subjecting her to a nightmarish ordeal of rape and ultimately murder. The aftermath of Yingying's abduction sent shockwaves through the community, sparking a frantic search effort led by the University of Illinois Police Department, Urbana Police Department, and FBI agents. The university's Chinese student population rallied together in a show of solidarity, coordinating search efforts both on and off campus. Despite the tireless efforts of law enforcement and the unwavering determination of Yingying's loved ones, the search yielded no trace of her whereabouts. Desperate for answers, Yingying's family, including her father, paternal aunt, and devoted boyfriend, Xiaolin Hou, traveled to Champaign to aid in the search efforts. The community rallied behind them, offering a substantial reward for information leading to Yingying's safe return. However, false leads and dashed hopes only added to the anguish of her loved ones, prolonging their agony as they grappled with the harrowing uncertainty of her fate. Amidst the chaos of the investigation, authorities honed in on Brent Allen Christensen as a prime suspect, meticulously piecing together evidence that pointed to his involvement in Yingying's disappearance. Surveillance footage captured Christensen's vehicle circling the area where Yingying was last seen, and discrepancies in his alibi raised suspicions of foul play. During intense questioning, Christensen's facade crumbled as he confessed to giving Yingying a ride but claimed to have dropped her off after a few blocks. However, a damning audio recording captured Christensen callously admitting to holding Yingying against her will and boasting of his heinous crimes. Despite his claims of being a serial killer, investigators were unable to substantiate his chilling confessions, leaving Yingying's fate shrouded in uncertainty. On June 30th, the wheels of justice turned as the FBI apprehended Christensen, charging him under federal law with the kidnapping that led to Yingying Zhang's tragic demise. The severity of the charges underscored the gravity of the crime, with the specter of life imprisonment or even the death penalty looming over Christensen's fate. During a pivotal court hearing on July 5th, U.S. Magistrate Eric Thurfer Long delivered a resounding verdict denying bail for Christensen. Long's decision, influenced by the absence of Yingying's body and Christensen's status as the last person seen with her, spoke volumes about the weight of evidence against him. Assistant U.S. Attorney Brian Frères further underscored Christensen's danger to the community, revealing disturbing details from the investigation that painted a chilling portrait of his twisted psyche. A turning point came on July 12, 2017, when a federal grand jury formally indicted Christensen for Yingying's kidnapping. The indictment cataloged the heinous acts committed against her, laying bare the extent of Christensen's depravity. Despite his pleas of innocence, Christensen's trial in June 2019 unfolded as a damning expose of his guilt, with attorney George Tassef conceding the grim reality of Yingying's fate.
The trial unraveled a chilling sequence of events, revealing how Christensen, masquerading as an undercover officer, attempted to abduct graduate student Emily Hogan before luring Yingying to her tragic end. The jury's swift verdict on June 24, 2019, sealed Christensen's fate, finding him guilty of kidnapping, resulting in death, and making false statements to federal agents. Yet, amid the shadows of justice, a glimmer of closure emerged as prosecutors divulged chilling details about Yingying's remains. Christensen's revelation, made under an immunity agreement, painted a macabre picture of how he callously disposed of her body, shattering any hope of a proper burial for her grieving loved ones. As Christensen began serving his life sentence, the community sought solace in honoring Yingying's memory. A serene memorial garden, unveiled on October 11, 2018, stood as a testament to her enduring spirit, offering a place of reflection and remembrance for those touched by her tragedy. In a poignant tribute to Yingying's legacy, her parents announced the creation of the Yingying Fund on August 19, 2019. This noble endeavor, dedicated to supporting international students in crisis, embodied the resilience and compassion that defined Yingying's life.